Hey guys, so in today's video we're going to talk about why you should never hit the golf ball with your trail hand. So for right-handed golfers, why you should never actively try and hit the ball with the right hand. There's always going to be an element of subjectivity in golf in terms of what somebody says, what somebody does, and what they genuinely feel like they're doing. But what we can do as golf instructors is we can try and explain what should happen. And then you guys can kind of understand the moral of this story. So I meet a lot of golfers all of the time, whether it's online or people that come through that door. And quite often they have misconceptions and the wrong ideas, particularly when it comes to like how to hit the ball and get distance. And a lot of people sort of think you should be really using your wrist to generate quite a lot of force. But when we look at professional golfers, we know that's not the case. I know that for myself. You know, when I swing through, I always get a very strong feeling that I'm trying to hold on to my trail hand in an element of extension. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I know that's going to help me really guide the club and keep the club nice and stable. What I'm certainly not doing is actively trying to hit it with the right hand, because it's going to do the opposite to that. So that's what we shouldn't be doing. We should be actively trying to do two things in the golf swing. One is coming in towards the downswing, is keep the trail forearm pointing up to the sky. The reason for this is this helps us keep the golf club on plane. See, if I keep my forearm up to the sky where the club is, if I move my forearm more downward, see where it starts to go. And if you can couple this with a wrist hinge, now again you can see my club's on plane. If this time I keep my forearm up to the sky but lose the wrist hinge to the way that now the club starts to go out. So we certainly want to maintain this feeling of forearm up to the sky and maintaining this feeling of the back of the right wrist staying in this extensional state. So the question is, how do you generate speed? How do you generate speed if you're going to try and hold on to those positions? Well, the first thing is, the importance of understanding this is allowing the arm to straighten. So what I'm saying is my arm can still straighten, okay, like so, like this. Okay, so I'm not suggesting we have to produce a golf swing where, yeah, my forearm stays up to the sky, and yes, my wrist will be angled like so, which we'll come back to in a moment, but I'm still allowing my arm to straighten. And I get quite a lot of questions. One, about speed, so the answer to that is still let your arm straighten. The second one is, how does the club get to the floor if you're trying to hold on to this type of angle? And the answer again, straighten. Let the arm straighten. That's how the club gets to the back of the ball or hit the floor. Now, the last point is, realistically, how do you retain these positions? Well, a lot of it is actually to do with your body. So if I get set up to this golf ball here, and imagine I mimic a pretty typical setup position where all my body is parallel aligned. When we hit the golf ball, we're slightly more towards the left-hand side and we're slightly more open. So now you can see the location of my right shoulder has completely changed. I'm not going to try and hit the ball in the position where I started. I'm going to be more here. So now, if I can get into this position, it would make much more sense as to one of the other reasons why my wrist would end up being slightly extended. So the point of today's video is to understand two things. One, you shouldn't actively try and hit the golf ball with your right hand or with your wrists, but you can allow it to straighten. The second thing is, you can do all sorts of drills and things trying to hold on to these angles, but generally the reason why your wrist is going to look like this in the first place is a lot to do whether your body is in the correct position. So if you're able to open up your body at the point of impact, it changes its shoulder, which means your wrist will then become more extended. However, what you don't want to be doing is trying to hit the golf ball with the wrist in the first place, because it just makes you more inconsistent. See you soon.